My name's Amata, and in this Red Gamer Tech video I'm here to talk about Kickstarter. Of course, when the crowdfunding platform released, or launched to be more exact, it did pretty well. We had numerous high-profile game projects being funded, and it looked like a good place to, make sure ideas that might not get funded otherwise actually came to fruition. But last year especially, it didn't do too brilliantly. Video games themselves took a huge decline of nearly 60%, which is a huge ouch, as I'm sure you will agree. Now, I'm not going to say this was entirely video games, because it wasn't just video games. Kickstarter crowdfunding as a whole did see a decline of 5.8% less in backer revenue than the year previously. This was obviously in 2016. But as I said, 6% decline in video games. So you could say, yeah, that's probably due to burnout, as well as, of course, the numerous high-profile failures and the games that are just still in limbo. You never know if they're coming out or not. And just the fact that there were so many games coming to the platform, and obviously so many things that weren't games coming to the platform, it became really, really hard. Now, according to a tweet from Luke Crane, who is the head of games over at Kickstarter, he did say that the amount of money pledged, bit of a tongue stumble there, to successful projects was up 29% year over year, which is pretty cool. So after the huge decline, not only in video games, but in general, this is a pretty nice to see. Now, this is in pledge to successful projects, obviously, because if a campaign isn't successful, the money doesn't get taken. So, that should need to be said, but I just want to make it clear this is for successful projects. Now, at the time of recording, unfortunately, there isn't a breakdown within the games category itself, as of course video games and tabletop games are kind of lumped together. And this is a really important distinction to make before we celebrate too hard, because tabletop has been doing really, really well on Kickstarter. It earned twice as much as video games in 2015, and in 2016 it earned 6 times as much as video games on Kickstarter. So we need to know how much of this, rise up we can attribute to board games, because we have seen really, really cool games come out of the sort of board game segment of Kickstarter. More successes that I can think of, or maybe at least as many successes, and not nearly as many high-profile failures, I think is the more important thing, than we have seen in video games. We've seen a ton of video games come out of Kickstarter, Wasteland 2, Undertale, so on. But obviously, when you think of Kickstarter, you probably think of Mighty No. 9 and the other high-profile failures that have just been really, really disappointing. And you might even think of games that just failed to live up to the expectations, even if they weren't outwardly terrible. Like, some people really didn't like Yooka-Laylee all that much. I haven't actually gotten around to playing it myself, but a lot of people didn't really get what they wanted out of that experience, so that also kind of soured them on it. But I think it's the big profile negative experiences that have caused a bit of the burnout with video games on Kickstarter, and the fact that there's so many on there as well. So it is really, really important to know how much of this we can attribute to tabletop games. I mean, I think it's going to be a mix of both, but I think, to be honest, given how tabletop gaming has been doing the last couple of years, I wouldn't be surprised to see it being attributed much more to tabletop gaming, but I still hope to see, of course, an increase in video game pledges versus last year, because as I said, 2016 was a bad year for video games on Kickstarter. To be honest, I don't think Kickstarter's going anywhere, but I think the projects that are currently in development, like, say, Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night, and Shenmue 3, what happens with them is going to be critical. If Bloodstained is bad or just meh, I personally will just be really, really disappointed, because I love classic Castlevania games, so if that's... I mean, it looks really promising so far, but numerous games on Kickstarter look promising and haven't been. So if that's bad and if Shenmue 3 is bad, then I think, that's going to be sort of the last straw for a lot of people. Obviously, they aren't the only video games being developed via Kickstarter, but they're the two sort of higher profile ones that are yet to release, because they have, obviously, still in development. So if they come out and they're not great, or they're bad, or whatever, that's probably going to be a huge blow to video games on Kickstarter. But I think tabletop gaming is going to go from strength to strength, because we are seeing quite some cool stuff coming out of that. Anyway, that is me done for this video. Hopefully we will get a breakdown soon of tabletop versus video games, and I'll probably be back to give you the lowdown on that. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.